Boom! Hello! Welcome to Thursday? I think that's right. Yes, Thursday. Hello. Welcome to Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Hi Dylan, hi Andasama. I initially read your message, Dylan, as there's more that there is more background noise on your phone, and that didn't make sense to me. But we're all good now. Yeah, you're having a lot of fun there, aren't you? All the complicated stuff. I'm gonna quickly make a tweak here, and that is, I have this locked right now. We're gonna this one? Yeah, let's transition that across. Because I keep struggling, right? And instead, we're just gonna pop everything here. So what are we doing today? This is gonna be the fun bit. I've set the stream for 1080p. Let me know if it looks good, and if there are any improvements I can make. But here's the plan for today, right? I'm gonna lower the music a bit. Skip that song. So, what are we doing and why? Now, one of the things that you can do using OBS, and I can actually pull this up, is you can go to localhost 9999, in my case, and in my case I have these 4 pages loading in OBS. You've got the chat, which is this thing down here. You've got my animated social stuff, which is on the very top left corner of the screen. You've got my alerts, and you've got a competitive ranking thing, which is right here and doesn't work anymore. So that's what that last one is. But they're the pages that are loaded on the stream right now. Now, the cool thing about this is I can actually click on this button. Whoa. Okay. And I can see that web page that I have loaded. And the cool thing is I can now interact with it as if it was a normal website. And you can actually see down in the bottom corner, or over here, that I'm selecting individual things. Now this is a React page, which is very nice. But I can actually go through each individual message here. Now let's quickly toggle this on and off, and that'll give us... There we go. And you can actually see each message here that is listed in chat here. And if I wanted to, I could go, oh, you know what? Let's delete one. Or, you know, whatever. Let's make this bigger. And all I have to do is modify the font. That didn't change anything, but okay. Doesn't matter. That's not the point. The point is, each web page has the ability to interact with OBS. In this case, it can get the version of the plugin. It can get a status. So if I do get status, and I give myself a callback function, and give myself a thing here. Let's make this a little bit bigger for you guys. And I go, okay, well, give me the status. It'll tell me that I'm not recording, I don't have a replay buffer running, but I am streaming, and this is all correct. Now, this is what the website has access to on my computer. Because I'm running it in OBS, it can access this information. It can also determine the current scene. So if I do the same thing, get current scene, it will tell me the width, the height, and the name of the scene. Which is correct. This is the main scene, and if I do the same on here, then you will see that it learned that I was on a new scene. Now, that's very basic in terms of things OBS can access. It's not a lot, to be honest. Today what we're going to do is not just let it access more things, but also control things. Switch scenes. Start, stop recording. Maybe even modify transitions. Ooh, and Asama just did a thing. There it is. And Asama, 217. Add custom browser panels. Exciting. So, here's what we currently have access to. There are a few things that we need to keep in mind. So I'm just going to leave this on screen while I talk. There are a couple of things to keep in mind. And the first is, we don't want any website to just modify OBS because OBS has the capability. The user has to actively go, I want this page to control it. So that's the first thing, right? Now, why would you want a website to control your OBS? Well, you might have some kind of alert dashboard. So let's actually load up Firefox over here and let's go to Muxy. Now, Muxy is the alert provider that I use. Everyone uses something different. People have some favorites that they like to use. That's fine. No worries, Dylan. That's fine. Oh, I didn't even know that Muxy had this stuff on the dashboard. So, this is the Muxy dashboard. The Muxy dashboard doesn't resize the preview. That's fine. But the dashboard tells you information about the number of people in the chat, what alerts are currently running and available to viewers. I'm actually going to load up the full screen projector on my third screen here so that I can see what you guys see. And all of this information is available to me as a streamer. And then I can launch this live feed, which will tell me, hey, these are the recent things that happened on your stream, right? This was from the raid yesterday, that kind of thing. Now, what I can do from here is I can test a follow. Right? That's a test. Works fine. That's good. I can test a host. All of this works. Now imagine if I had an extra button. That could be switch to BRB scene or mute microphone. Why would this be useful? Say I left my stream running while, you know, I had to go quickly do something. Or I went to bed and left OBS streaming. One of my mods could run a command in chat or log into a dashboard like this one and stop my stream for me. That way, I don't come back 8 hours later having streamed for an extra 8 hours more than I meant to. That's the point. So that's what we're going to be working on today. And this is going to be interesting. So, Andasama helped me yesterday with a few things. Actually, no, not yesterday. Day before yesterday, before I streamed. And we can actually take a look at some of these here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to... Filter hotkeys would be nice now, wouldn't it? Is this too much? This is fine. Okay. It still looks tiny, but you guys can read it. So what we're going to do is we're going to quickly fetch all our branches here. It doesn't help that my screen is 1440p. Oh yeah, let's get VodBox OBS browser. Do you still have a... Yeah, you do. Do you still have a branch? Sync option. I'll take that as a no. What is sync option? Oh, custom frame rate. Gotcha. Yeah, you don't have a branch for it anymore. So, there are a few things that I did recently. I added the ability to save a replay buffer. And that was pretty easy to do. I think that was the easy one. Yes, this was the easy one. And all I had to do was, in browser app, if the function that the user... first I have to define that the function exists. Then recognize the save replay buffer function and run an OBS function that then triggers that save. Now, in the same way that I can normally hit a hotkey and that'll save the last 20 seconds of my stream. Ah, fair enough, Dylan. Sneaky, sneaky. That's a fairly simple function where now the browser can run a function that saves the replay buffer. It doesn't get any feedback about it happening because the OBS documentation doesn't mention anything about it. So I'm just going to open up the docs here. There is no mention in the documentation in terms of if a replay buffer is saved, or if you trigger a save, but you can listen to the event of a replay buffer starting and stopping. That's about it, not when it's actually good. So that was one thing I added. The other thing I added was which one here? Yep, I added replay buffer events. So when you start a replay buffer, stop a replay buffer, which matches starting and stopping streaming and recording. Very, very simple code-wise. I also renamed this internally, which doesn't matter. And I also removed some duplicate code here because it basically had this entire thing. The only difference was the create, and that create function was hard-coded for each if statement rather than just reading the name, which is repay buffer. Replay buffer. I'm going to stick a lot of L's in there just because. I'm getting tongue-tied, okay? That was what I worked on then, and this is the actual replay buffer. And then I had a lot of help from Andasama on this next one, which is adding JavaScript events for active and visible changes. So what you can currently do, and let me pull up the documentation for this too. GitHub, OBS browser. Currently, when it comes to OBS documentation, it says that if you want to get visibility and active-inactive events, essentially, then you have to define your own functions on visibility change and on active change. This is inconsistent with all of these events, and this one here, which is when the scene is changed, do this. When The streaming has stopped. Do this, right? So I was like, okay, well, we have all these other events. Let's do the same for these two events, visibility changes and active inactive changes. With the help of Andasama, and I need to add him as a co-author to this commit, because he definitely helped significantly. I added in, or we added in, a source visibility change and an active change JS event. And we also changed the way the dispatch JS event works so that we can actually pass the individual browser sources. Because all of these events don't care about the current browser source. They only care about OBS as a whole. I'm still very bright. Not much I can do there. But none of these care about the current browser source. They just care about the status of OBS. These two care about the current browser. Specifically, I have been hidden, I have been made visible. Now, there wasn't a way to dispatch a JavaScript event to a specific browser instance, so that's what we added down here. You pass on the browser, and if a browser hasn't been defined, we send it to all browsers, and if a browser has been defined, we send it to the one browser that cares. Yeah? Overall, the idea is very simple. The code was more complicated than I was expecting. Luckily, I had the help of Andasama. So, likely with the help of Andasama again, we're going to do this next bit, which is controlling OBS. So what I'm actually going to do is now we're going to jump into this master branch of OBS browser. I'm going to pull in the latest code so that we're up to date. The only change in here is translations, that's fine, and we're going to create a new branch called control OBS. And then we're going to also make sure we're in master for OBS and pull that in as well. What changes do I have in here? Oh, right, I added my own. We're going to have to discard this, actually. That's fine. Because there were changes to the browser source. Well, thank you, Dylan. I try. It's probably because I'm saying and R a lot. It's very easy to just drift off. That's entirely my fault. What do we have in here? We want to be running the latest of OBS browser. And we want to be running the latest of OBS VST. Luckily, Fork makes this easy. We just discard the changes of reverting the build. Now that we have the latest master, we have the latest browser. We can actually go into Visual Studio and we can load up OBS Studio. Now, because I'm running a custom build, you can actually see I've also compiled a bunch of my own versions of well-known OBS plugins. Now, this is the bit that's going to suck. I need to quickly check something. Is this a thing we can do? We are going to go into Tools. We're going to go into Options. We're looking for Projects and Solutions. Build and Run. We're going to halve that to 4. And now we're going to build. Basically, I don't want to make OBS struggle. I should probably open Task Manager, but that's fine. This will only be a problem initially. This is fair, Dylan. There's also no background noise, which is helpful. So normally I build this a lot faster. I've purposefully slowed it down. That's fine. We can ideally keep talking in the background. Let me know if my mic has started to go crackly, because that will happen when Visual Studio is starving Adobe Audition. Let me know if I sound okay. It's important to me. Okay. Let's fix. Oh. This also doesn't help. This should help a little. When this finishes the final 5%, I didn't realize it had been downloading this in the background. I was away from my computer the whole time. That should help my mic. At least. So all of this is building. Let's start planning some of this stuff out, yeah? What are we going to need? Actually, no, we can do it this way. What are we going to need, and how are we going to do it? Front-end API function. So all of these are events. I have gone through, and as far as I can tell, we have everything that we would need. Transition changed might be a good event to add to the list, but I don't actually think we will need it. Maybe transition stopped would be a useful event, but that's not the purpose of the specific changes we're doing today. It's not letting me scroll. Oh, my computer froze. Ugh. What do you mean encoding overloaded? I think my graphics card just had a fit. Let me know if I'm back. Fun fact, if your CPU can't keep up, even NVENC will struggle. Good to know. Here's what we need. We will need... Excellent. So, we need to get all scene names using this. Then the... okay. I'm not sure which of these I need. Probably this one. Yeah, no kidding, Dylan. I don't think that was actually a crash. It was my CPU struggled, which then caused everything else to hang. We have a way to get the current scene already. We need the ability to set, get all scenes, set current scene, and that will definitely be this one. We need a way to get all transitions and the current transition. $27 succeeded, 17 up to date. Excellent. We're all good then. So we have a way to get and set current transition. And I can actually turn off this mouse. You guys don't need it. Here's a fun one. The function is called OBS frontend get scene collections and returns a char list. But the description says it returns the list of profile names. The list is stored within one segment of memory. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to put together two lists. The first list is going to be stuff we do want to do now, and stuff we can worry about later. Because one thing that we could allow the user to do is switch between scene collections. We may be able to get a way to change profiles. Oh, Darren's playing Destiny 2. Getting and setting scene collections, I can understand why that would be useful. Profiles is less likely because if you're already live, then you can't switch profiles anyway. So that has less usefulness to it. We've got profiles, get, set. We've already used the event callback stuff, so we don't need to worry about that. We don't need a way to remove event callbacks because my guess is OBS browser cleans up after itself on that front. Probably loops through all the events it's hooked into or something. Maybe, and Asama, but at that stage, why not just do it in OBS? This is the kind of stuff where you'd want to do it automatically to some extent. Save callbacks preload right before a scene collection is loaded. Useful if you. There are some weird things in this documentation. Very weird. You know what? I bet I need to add this to my list of things I do before I start streaming. I'm gonna untick low light compensation. There. Now I'm no longer shiny. Yeah, this documentation is missing some words. Pushes a UI translation callback. This allows a front-end plugin to intercept when Qt is automatically generating translating data. Typically, this is just called with OBS module getString. Interesting. Populate the current translation callback. Start streaming. Okay, these are the big ones. So we've got scenes, we've got transitions. One sec. I used to have a tissue boxing. Now I do not. I could have probably... Yeah. And rosy red. So that should help a little. Okay. So we want streaming start, streaming stop. We already have a way to check streaming status. Start recording. Stop recording. Start replay buffer. Stop replay buffer. So these are going to be the important ones. We will most likely start with these. Or we will start with get current scene, because that's... No, we already have that, though. No, this is set current scene. Okay, we're going to need that. You need wording help? Is this for tweets or the videos themselves? Just post it in the channel, and I can reword it for you. Saves a replay buffer. We've already added that function. save the scene collection. We won't need anything advanced as this. I don't see the need of setting the current streaming service. So, this could be useful. So, set current profile. Switch streaming service resolution. Good question. I personally don't see anything wrong with idle no OBS. However, no OBS, I think you could just have the no OBS bit. Or without OBS. Or just, I don't know. I'd probably just leave it as no OBS. No BS. So this could be useful for switching streaming services, setting the current profile. Where you log into your alert provider and go, actually, I'm only going to be streaming to this service. And that'll switch to a profile that you have pre-configured for that service, or a different resolution, or a different bitrate. We're starting with the basics. I don't see the use of toggling studio mode, so I definitely won't be doing this in the first version. It could be worth learning how to do it, but I don't see the usefulness of it. Get current preview scene and set current preview scene. Okay. Seeing as we have these functions you can run, I guess the transition function would do it, right? Set current transition, trigger transition. Do we have a get transition, set current transition? We don't actually have a way to transition from one scene to another in the API using studio mode. Interesting. There's likely something I'm missing. That's fine. So these are the things we're going to try and do today. Not all of them. I don't think I can squeeze those in. We could start with something simple, like setting the current scene, or we could do something more complicated, like starting a recording. But what we're actually going to do is we're going to take a look at what we're working with. So here is the OBS handle event function. Did I close the window? I specifically opened a window so that I could main display. I do these things, and then you wonder, why did I do these things? Now I can... Okay. Oh, rude. No. No. I'll have to stream without you. So, here's what we've got in terms of for listening events. All of these are pretty straightforward. They don't pass any data. They just let us know when streaming has started. We can continue having those events. That is fine. Then we've got the scene changed event. This generates... This generates a JSON that contains the name, the width, and the height. All of this is fine. I need more water. We also have an event when OBS is closed. So these are events. We can't do anything with them. They're all read-only. And these are the ones that are currently in OBS. I mentioned before, I've added a few extra that won't be available in this build that we're working on. But we have events. We also have functions. So on visibility change, is that in here? Okay. So there's an on-process message. Black Widow, yes. I am relatively good with computers. What kind of question do you have? So the way this basically works is... Black Widow, thanks for the follow. Welcome to the order. Hope your day's going well. This reads messages it receives. In this case, visibility or active. And then does things. New PC with an i7 9700 and an old PC with an i5 and a 950. You could maybe use the i50 for streaming. The biggest issue that you will run into with a 2PC setup that a lot of people run into, including a lot of people I know. I understand is saying something. So... when it comes to a 2PC stream, the biggest challenge you'll run into is figuring out a way to get video from one to the other and audio from one to the other. Audio is the more tricky part, because with the video, you can either use a capture card, or you can use something like NDI. And what you're going to have to do is maintain the audio of the game you're playing, your microphone, the people you're talking to in Discord, for example, and also alerts that you receive on stream. Those will come from the stream PC rather than your main PC. Being able to control all of that. Personally, I don't find it worth the effort. If you're going to have a 2080, just use OBS version 23 with NVENC. That's what I'm streaming with right now. I've doubled my resolution, basically, from what I normally do with my bitrate, about the same. But that is my personal recommendation, is use the main good PC on its own. Now, if you're doing something where the CPU is going to be pegged, say playing Apex Legends, because that's not very well optimized yet, then a second PC is useful, because then you can have your gaming PC just focus on the game. The other thing is, you mentioned the most FPS right there. Right there. When streaming, the most FPS is not a good idea. I personally would recommend 60 or 120 in-game FPS. That's it. If you're streaming at 60 FPS, the highest you should go is 120. Well, see, here's the thing, Black Widow. OBS can only capture certain frames, and if the frame rate at which you have important frames in the game, if they don't line up with your OBS frame rate, then it'll look stuttery on stream, even though it looks fine for you. So if you're streaming, the most FPS I would recommend is 120. Personally, I run everything at 60, even though my monitor can handle 100 Hz with 100 FPS. Hi Tim, hi Mr. T. Hope your days are going well. Welcome. We're just talking computers at the moment. So it receives messages. For example, the visibility was changed. And it then executes a function that you define as as the website. So in here, I simply go, okay, when, where is it? Okay. Let's do this live. Window dot on visibility change. Nope. That's not what I copied. Do this, right? I think it's a dot data something. So every time I toggle the visibility of chat, let's quickly hide chat. Nope, that's not the right chat. But basically, every time the visibility changes, it will run this function for me. No? Okay. Yeah, what Andasama said. A multiple of the OBS output. The way OBS works when it comes to... I'm glad to hear it, Tim. I have my frame rate and bitrate the same. The only difference today is I've changed the resolution to 1080p. My phone just beat. Okay. Root, you don't need 144 FPS. Max it out in 120. But the way OBS does game capture, for example, I don't know what my hair... I look bald here. That's not good. That's just color. The way OBS does it is if you have OBS set to capture at 30, it will... if you have OBS set to stream at 30, it will capture at 60. If you then play the game at 120, that will still look fine on a 30 FPS stream. But if you are running, say, 144 FPS in-game, that won't look good on a 60 FPS capture or a 30 FPS stream. All of that would look bad. I really don't like the coloring here. Okay. So these are the functions that it triggers. But we want to do it the other way around. We want to send a function to OBS. Now, luckily, Andasama has done the hard work for us in finding what we need to do. So let's call him and get his expert opinion on this.
Hello.
Hi, you're live on the air.
Hi, everybody. So I've been watching the stream. I'm Andasama. Hi, everybody. And in the background, I've been doing research.
No, that's good. It allows us to do this much faster. So, Andasama has found the basics of what we need to do, and I'm going to pull this up in a nice little thing here, and we're going to change this to C++. So these are the two functions we will need, right?
Yeah, I think so. I'm pretty
execute and on context created.
Yeah, you can see in there that we have some custom functions being defined that OBS is able to execute, and then they're handled in the they're defined in one, and then the implementation is in the other. And since that's the case, it's literally just slap our friendly neighborhood.
Yes, so execute correct. So this is the function that I modified for where I halved the code, because if you look at get current scene and get status, they're both identical functions. The only difference is the parameter that's passed to Ceph process message create, right? That is the only difference in these two functions. Because they both read the first parameter, they check it that it's a function, and set it as an argument. So we will add our own function down here. else if, say, set.
Actually, I would suggest at this point, because we're gonna add a few of these.
I would change this to a switch statement, yes.
Well, no. Here's the problem. Switch statements, I don't know how it is in JavaScript, but in C++, switch statements are dumb when it comes to strings. It does not do exact matches. It will just basically check the first character, because it's looking at it as if it were like an integer. I'm pretty sure.
What?
Or a byte. Yeah. So
who thought this was a good idea?
Well, this came from ages ago when you were trying to handle strings and just characters at a time. So it'd be like, yeah, just check. Yeah, I think that's how it works. So switch statement probably not the ideal way to go about this.
Fine.
But we can probably get something.
You know what I'm gonna do? Let's stick this in. I have an idea.
I might have to double check that. That's like that feels right to me. I could be horribly wrong.
It feels wrong to me, but if that's the way it does it.
String. I'm pretty sure it doesn't switch case with string.
That's not what I meant to do.
Yeah, I don't think that works. Yeah, no. No, it doesn't. You could, in theory, what you could do is you could create, you could create like a hash of the string and then compare that integer, but then at a certain point it's like, well, what are you doing? Just
yeah.
I mean, that's either you can do a hash, you could do hash, you could do binary search for list of functions, or you can do a list of ifs and else ifs, and yeah, I mean, it depends how nasty you want the code to look.
Oh, it just turns out I kill the frame rate when I switch between these windows. That's nice.
String matching in C. Well, okay, this is a holdover from C. In C, you didn't have well, you had a specific function when you had string comp, which was specifically to loop through the string to the null character, and which also caused a lot of problems because if you have something that does not have the null terminator at the end, say bye-bye to your computer. So, not exactly safe. So, and there basically wasn't anything to do a direct comparison. You could cheap out in a way, because if you well, this is still true. You could take a pointer to like a const char. So basically, a constant string that you have stored somewhere, and you could be like, oh, the short way of checking equality between the strings is just to check the pointer if you're using the same pointer to assign everything, if that makes sense. So you could do it that way and like cheap out and just be like, hey, the address is the same. We know that this string matches the other string. But yeah.
So Visual Studio Code this past week gained the ability to do what's called screencast mode, which basically puts big letters of what you're typing within the window, so that if you're, for example, doing a presentation or streaming yourself coding, it makes it look really good. Visual Studio apparently doesn't have this capability. So I'm going to be using Visual Studio Code to actually write the stuff, And
I mean, why not?
the only problem is it doesn't actually have a bunch of styling that I like. Which is unfortunate. Better C++ syntax. Let's install this. This should fix it. Okay, it's installed. That didn't change the syntax. Oh, it even highlights where I click. That's cool. Let's restart Visual Studio Code just in case.
But yeah.
Nope, maybe it'll be tied to the theme. Oh well. So what we need is this section, line 225. So in here, we now have a start streaming. We can do the same for a couple others.
Basically everything that you want to add. We're just adding strings here. And then by the way, if I'm not too far off, my gut instinct tells me that the checking the arguments 0 being a function is that the first argument is itself the name of the function, and checking if the value type is a function. So that's just to say that whatever you're messing with is a function, and then the argument size is actually more than likely just to verify that everything's together. So if we have a 1 parameter function, we're going to be asserting that the argument size is 1 more than that. Is how this appears to look.
Yeah, well, so if it has 1 argument, and if the first argument is a function, then it adds that as a callback, creates a process message, grabs the argument list, sets the first argument, and then passes a message to the browser. We're doing it the other way around. Because this callback... Actually, no,
No, it's the exact same.
Yeah.
Because it's actually that once you've well, okay, so this is where things get confusing. So does get status get used anywhere else? I don't think so. Yeah, so it's just validation, and then on process message received is the other.
Now, here's what we need to check. We need to pull up the things that we're working on. We're going to start with the basics. Start streaming, stop streaming, yeah? These both do not take any parameters and do not return anything. So we don't need to worry about... Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just going through.
So the other thing we're going to do is we're going to do a quick search for get current scene. Because that does stuff in a number of files. On process, yeah, you just found it as well. On process message received, if the function that the browser has received is get current scene, sorry, if the browser client, so this is the plugin in OBS itself, if it receives this function, then it runs regular OBS functions to understand the information that you're sending. Meaning, all we have to do, we do not need a parameter, right? We just need to send the function.
Actually, all you really need to do is at the point where it says on process message received, in here, I would guess, because it seems like front-end stuff is okay here, you would just run your front-end function inside that else if. And you would also immediately return. You would not go into the bit about setting the argument list, because setting the argument list was for the ones which returned something.
Correct. So, here's the question. We are in browser app. If we look at send process message, it requires a second parameter. It requires the message because... What am I doing wrong here? Yep, that's fine. Okay, so args is what we don't need to send. When does it pass args?
No, the execute part, the execute function is setting up that certain functions are going to execute.
VS Code did, Dylan.
It's asserting, basically it's going, when you execute this function, or when you I don't know at what point things happen, but at some point the execute function here is used to validate executable functions, basically. So it's like, if the name matches this thing, if the argument size is 1 and the first argument is the function itself, and then it adds to the callback map, and it uses the first parameter, which is the function itself, and then later that same that callback ID is used as, I would imagine, the actual function to execute later.
Yeah. So step 1, we need an else if here. Name equals start streaming.
Or no, oh wait, no, hold on. Get currency. Maybe this is setting up that there will be a return value. Yeah, because get current scene and get status both have return values.
So here's what we're going to do.
We're just going to poke and prod, see what happens.
Basically, that's my plan. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to at least define these. Now, this is the thing I'm not sure about, because when you do window.obs studio, it returns get current scene and get status. So I'm going to do a quick search here for get current scene. Get current scene is mentioned in the browser app. Aha! So in onContext created, this is where we tell the JavaScript, hey, this is a function that exists that the user can call. So we are going to need this.
Yep.
For sure. And what do we have? So the functions are poorly named, so we can rename these.
And it would actually, for these, right? Because I think start streaming and stop streaming, those return a bool, don't they? To say whether they've succeeded?
Nope, they do not. They accept a void and return a void.
Okay, then never mind. Well,
yeah, that was the first thing I checked.
Execute function. Just done.
So essentially what you need to do is you need to set up a listener beforehand, then run the function, and you will then receive information about whether it succeeded. Then you can remove the listener if you like. That's entirely up to you. So what we've done here is we've defined each of these functions that will be accessible to to the browser in this
this might
object
be
here.
where actually this might be where, right? If you were tweaking your settings, right? This is where you might have an if condition to mess with this section. Make sense? And that way you have this thing that says, hey, these are just literally not defined at all if the person hasn't enabled any of this. And then you could disable, obviously, all the other functions you're about to add.
Good point. So we're going to check here if the user has enabled the ability to control OBS. Now this is going to be the challenge. The user will have to click OK for the change to go through about allowing this to control OBS.
Or these might be defined, but the check might be in the function itself, whether they even execute at all, whether they do anything. Right? Like if... So in here, it might be, I don't know. You get the idea. We're gonna set some bool to make sure the user can't execute code they're not meant to.
Yep. Do you have Visual Studio Code installed, by the way?
I might.
Could you check? And if you do, update it and then install the live share extension and log into it, and that way I can share this window with you.
Is it Visual Studio Code Insider's desktop app?
That'll work. Okay, so we've built this version of OBS here. Let's launch it.
Okay. Help. Updates. Yes, install update.
Okay.
The C++ extension is recommended for this file type. Should I install that?
Yeah, might as well.
That seems...
So, we have a browser source in here. And this one should be running on port 9998. Yes. Okay. So this is our add.js events page. Let's open this. Now we're going to open the console. Window.OBS. OBS Studio. Let's just do that. And now you can see we have defined these functions here. So we're just going to test this. Stop.
Well, we could technically have it give back some additional information after starting the stream.
Yeah, we'll return a string that just says, "Hey, we were able to do a thing."
Well, like we could double check, right? So the first one is start the stream, and then the second part is the other function which checks to see if the thing is recording or starting, and that way.
No, but then we have to. But then the user would have to define a callback, or we'd have to make this into a ES6 promise, and that's too much effort.
No, well, because
the user might as well just have a listener set up.
No, I'm saying that function, that the start streaming function, could return basically true or false, based off of the state of the thing as after the first part completes. That
would require making the entire function synchronous. And that could cause issues. I want to start with the basics for now.
Well, I'm pretty sure that stop streaming is synchronous. Like it will.
I mean the JavaScript side of things, because JavaScript is.
Well, the JavaScript has to execute this is what's happening in order to even complete.
Mm-hmm.
So anything you write in here is synchronous.
Yes, but the... Yeah,
if you ran it multiple times, right, at the same time, then you'd run into issues. Because then the return values may not refer to the actual... Anyway, yeah. I see what you mean, but like if you ran it once as you probably meant to do, then you could probably be pretty safe about it.
So all of these return false. Let's actually return true on these.
Okay.
Because it means that the command was found and the command was... We attempted to execute the command, right? So this is where we would run.
Okay, so what was it? I need some live extension or something?
VS live share.
Okay. Do. Almost there.
So these will run the functions themselves. So this is the easy part, right? So stop streaming, this one would be OBS streaming start. OBS streaming stop.
Didn't like it. That's interesting. What happened there?
Recording start.
Do I have to do it from the Microsoft Store?
No, so in Visual Studio Code, what's it called? Live Share. So in VS Code on the left sidebar, there's an extensions button. You can click Control-Shift-X to get to it. And then that'll have a box. Just look for Live Share, I think.
Yep, found it. Yep, looks like a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to the actual website and then I was confused. All right, so now... Okay, so presumably now I have this thing on here. Now what to do?
Log into it. So in the left sidebar, there should now be a new button for Live Share.
Yes.
Click on that and log in.
Session.
Yeah, I might be able to invite you to it. Start.
Yeah, it's asking for a URL.
Okay, let me hide this from stream temporarily so that it doesn't give me
that would be a good idea.
The other thing I don't like is when I hover over contacts, it shows their email address.
Oh, that's not good.
Oh, I'll just send you the link.
Yep. All right. Copy, paste.
Okay.
Oh, paste. Nope. I'm not saving any of the work I've done because I have no idea what I was modifying.
Yes. So here's the interesting thing. That's the hard work done. At least for these basic actions. For streaming, starting and stopping, and recording, starting and stopping. We don't receive any parameters. We don't have to send them out. All of this is the complete done bit. Yeah, we would have to have a callback, and Asama. If you look at this section down here, when it generates the status response... No worries, Dylan. It generates the response, does all of these things, and then once it has all the values, it sends a message out.
Yeah, well, that's why we're returning true immediately, because
because we don't need to wait for a callback.
Well, no, this is not a callback. This is setting the return value, I think.
No, it's not. It's creating a message of execute callback and then running send process message. So it then tells CEF to send a callback or to run the callback function. Yeah. So
okay. So that's the on process message received is actually where that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So I haven't touched this. You can actually see, I don't know if you can actually see it on your end, but there's a green line here from here to here that tells me I've modified these lines.
Yep, I can see that.
Okay, so that's a git diff. That's a very nice thing. So those were the easy parts, because those don't require us to send anything, and we don't receive anything. Now, we will do the same for replay buffer start and stop, but that's a thing for later. The next part is, let's do something like set current scene, because that, I think, will be just as easy, because... no, so we need to actually do a thing where we get the current scene first. That'll give us...
Actually...
So we need these two in common.
You want to test to make sure... Oh, shoot, no, you can't...
Yeah, I'll test it. I'll quickly build OBS with this, and then I'll just start it.
No, you can't, because you can't start streaming.
I can start recording, though.
Right, okay, yeah, recording. That would work.
Because if this one works, then this one will work as well.
Yeah.
So let's build browser. Sure. Yeah, I think 100% this will work, and I can actually add in an event listener for whether recording has started and print that out. So we're gonna copy this. We're going to quickly open a new thing in here.
Well, technically, you could just do your debug console thing and do it, because you're familiar with that. That should work. So if you run that, and then, yeah. Oh, I wonder, does this let me edit things?
Oh, actually, you know what? Let's do both.
Hold on. Oh, I can. Okay, hold on. I'm not... Shoot, I'm not gonna... Okay, I'm not gonna touch anything. I can edit.
Yeah, go for it. So we're gonna need two listeners here. Recording starting.
I'm gonna put...
And recording started. I can't see this. Started recording. I'm missing quote.
I wish I could flip the stream chat to the opposite side, because then that would be more readable for me.
There is a... BTTV allows you to move it to the left.
Oh, does it? Oh.
You can also pop out the chat.
Well, if I do, it loses all the stuff. That's always frustrating. Anyway.
So, recording starting, recording started. These will be our new events. We can launch this up. And we also need OBS studio.start recording. This is literally all of our code that we're actually going to run. And that will allow us to determine whether everything works. So I've launched OBS. We haven't added checks in to go, hey, has the user allowed it? But we'll do that last, because that's going to be the complicated bit. And I want to start with the easy bits. So I will actually navigate to this page again, and this one, and we have the functions available to us. And we will actually watch OBS, so keep an eye on these buttons over here. That did not start the recording. I missed a step somewhere.
Uh-oh.
Because start recording is...
No, it's an actual function you can call. It's not an event.
Correct, and I'm calling the function. Because if I hit start recording, you can actually see those get printed. Those events work. The events work. My function doesn't do anything.
Alright, I'm gonna go...
So we're not passing the message correctly, which would be correct because I haven't actually done that. Because I did it for start streaming, not for start recording. That is why.
That would be important.
Yeah. So we're actually going to make this really easy because all of these do the exact same thing internally. We don't pass any arguments, we just trigger a function. It helps if we pass this information across.
Well, actually, hold on. Let me do. Oh.
So now, on process message received, do we need to do anything here?
Well, no. These are slightly different.
Those ones don't matter. That's fine.
Wait.
We should be good now. I was dumb and simply forgot to actually pass the message.
No, we do. You do need to validate the size, though.
The what? Where are you? But there are no arguments.
Nope. This is the actual function itself.
No. No. The is function is the callback. Argument 0 is a callback. We don't care about the callback because we're not sending a callback because there is no... there's nothing that gets triggered when...
Oh, I see. Okay, I understand. That's... Well, in that case, you still want to do this then.
Now it works. There we go.
You're still going to want to validate that the argument size is 0.
No.
If there are no arguments, because you don't want to throw in anything in there, have people get confused.
So?
Alright, whatever.
What if I send 3 arguments? Still starts recording, don't see the problem. We're not reading the arguments anyway, so we don't care if the user does throw in some arguments, because it's JavaScript and it doesn't care.
Okay, fair enough. I don't know. I'm not familiar with JavaScript. I would make it strict.
Most developers would not expect it to be strict. So that works. You click OBS Studio.start recording, and it starts recording.
I guess my brain did not realize that that first part was actually a callback, but then of course it says callback right there, so that I suppose that makes sense. Now
I wonder, can we actually make the JavaScript function return something without a callback? So would it be in browser app execute, for example, where we go? Because
well, I'm betting what you're dealing with here is that the one led into the other, where I'm betting that the execute callback bit of the process message received is doing the work of running your... It's passing the information from the return of 1 into the actual callback that's been written. So
yes, but no. So okay, so difference between a function returning a value, a callback function, and a promise. So let me quickly... can you actually see untitled pages, or is it only pages that...
I can hop between everything actually in here.
Can you see untitled 1?
No.
Okay, go to the live share menu in the left sidebar and click on my name.
Okay.
Do you see this text that I'm selecting right now?
I'm not able to reach whatever you're messing with, no.
Okay. Then let me quickly create a new file. Do you see example.js?
Shoot.
You might need to click on my name to jump to where I am. Unless I can tell it to send...
Yeah, now I can.
Yeah? Okay. So, there are 3 ways to... So a callback function is you run, say, OBS Studio get streaming status, right? And this here is the callback function, right? From here to here, that's the callback function. Welcome back, Dylan. This function will execute asynchronously. So what will happen is JavaScript will run this function. This function will do things in the background, and when it's done, it will run the first argument, which is this function.
Right. And that's what was set up in...
Yes, that's what the other commands do.
Right.
If you request the...
You're asking if you can get it to return a value.
So the other method of... So there are two others. Hold on. The other method is, say you have this one, right? And we're going to define it, right? One method promises, which is then. And then you have a function here. And you can also have a .catch, which is another function. So this would be a success. And this would be a failure, right? So this one, rather than having a callback function, you could instead have other arguments that you're sending instead, right? These are 4 different arguments I'm sending. One of them could be a variable that you've predefined, whatever. Either way, status becomes a promise. And when status completes, it will run this function. This is a much newer method of doing the callback thing from before. This is like brand new within the past couple of years. The benefit of this is you have success and failure things you can do, and also you can add another then, which is actually, regardless of whether it succeeds or fails, once both of these have finished, whichever actually happens, then also do this after. All of this is asynchronous, whereas if I were to do something here, this bit doesn't care about whether these finish or not. It'll never be affected by these. So those are the two methods. The third option, the third thing, is this here, right now, in this example, returns a promise object, which then allows you to have these things. But if you're not working asynchronously, if you're working synchronously, status could return a true or false directly. And that way, in this case, all I need from this is the fact that it was able to start the process. I don't care if it finished. I just want to know... Basically, it was the command existed and something happened. Now, whether streaming actually started, that's a whole other process. We have an event for it, right? This code here already checks for that there, right? So if so this adds a listener. If a recording is starting, it will do this. If a recording has started, it will do this. And that way, I run this function. Then as soon as recording has started, I can do my own thing. It could be, once recording has started, this action here could be switch to this scene. Once it's starting, switch to this scene. So by the time recording has started, my intro video plays, for example.
Is this... Okay, hold on. Is this written at the moment where get current scene has you executing a callback in order to work with anything? I would take that as a yes.
Good question. Does it require...
Because if...
No. So the only thing it's doing is if there are arguments, it adds it to the callback list, right? It adds it to a callback map. I don't think this part cares about an actual callback function existing. Let's find out. We can find this out really easily.
Yeah, if you do get
status, actually, yeah, if I do...
Or even...
Yeah, it doesn't crash. It handles it fine. It is get status, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't care. It just won't return anything. Because it doesn't have a callback function.
Yeah, so it does take a callback.
Yeah. It takes a callback. It doesn't explicitly require the callback, but if you just run get status without defining a callback, you will never know what the status actually is.
Right, and that's sort of what you're getting at is, well...
So in this case, all of them are returning undefined. So if I were to actually set this to a variable, var stat console log stat, then status is undefined. So the current things don't actually return anything back to the user. Even though, so the question becomes, would we have to define that in browser app execute?
That's why I'm a bit lost here, because it seems to me like on process message received is saying that I think the way this is written at the moment is it's firing off basically a custom event, and then inside the custom event it executes the callback function.
Yes.
Whereas we just want this to immediately return.
Well, so here's what I'm thinking. We actually have to craft a Ceph response that we can send back to the client, which is in this case our console, to say the command existed and we were able to start some stuff. Whether the actual recording started. Now, here's the challenge. We don't want to actually returning true isn't entirely true because we're not actually telling them that it succeeded.
You're returning whatever the regular stuff is, not necessarily with the...
Well, we could return a string, for example, that says command sent.
No. What I'm getting at is that in the execute part, right, there's a check to see if the first parameter...
I am struggling to read your name. Sorry. RKR
If that's not
Mark.
defined, then...
Thanks for the follow. Welcome to the order.
Thing here could be written to be like, oh, there's no callback function. Let me return the object immediately.
Yeah.
Right? And so the question is, how do you set the return value in Ceph?
Yeah. That is the question.
That I don't know. Okay.
Just say, Mark, that works for me. Thanks for making it easy. How's your day going?
You can send a process message back to the browser process. Okay.
I'm glad you're enjoying the stream, Mark. That's exactly why I'm streaming it. Because this is something that I think a lot of people will find very useful. And plus, streaming something like this is fun. Because otherwise I'd be doing it sitting by myself. Studying's important too, yes. Up to you if you want to study or if you want to watch this. You can always catch the VOD later. It'll be up both on Twitch and YouTube. So that is something else we should think about later, Andasama, in terms of returning something. Yeah, I might at least start getting... Yeah.
How this works. Because, I got so far as to figure out where this was happening. I did not get far enough to figure out.
So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to also add in the replay buffer starting and stopping. Is it just replay underscore buffer? Oh no. Where is this link that you've sent me? Whoa. There has been some conversation. Alright, Dylan, let's take a look at your link. Oh, That's important. Good luck with that one. So this one is just replay underscore buffer. Start and stop. Yes? Yes. So it's in there, and we need to do the same here. And there's a third location where we have to define this, which is up here. I really don't like how much duplicate code we have to write here. We will have to look into this at some point, Andasama.
Yeah.
That's not where... I am very bad at clicking. So, to explain the flow to people just tuning in, this section of the code tells JavaScript these functions exist. This code goes, if a user runs the function, generate this generate this message and send it to OBS. OBS then goes, I've been told I need to run this, I'm going to run the code that's related to it. That's the oversimplified version of how this works. So that all works. So now let's quickly rebuild OBS and test our replay buffer. And if that works, we can then do the more complicated ones, which is get the current scene and set the current scene. These will have to have callback functions. No, set current scene will not have a callback function. So this is where this gets interesting.
It will have a parameter.
It will have a parameter that is the scene. Now a scene,
the string,
is a reference. So what we're going to have to do is we will have a function that... I have no idea how we're going to do this. We might have to, in our code... let me pull this up here. In our code, what we will have to do is something like this, right? This grabs current scene, which is a function of OBS. Get current scene. What about the events? We have event listeners up here somewhere. Which file is it in? That's not browser. It's in browser plugin.
Here.
So how does this work? Hold on. Front-end event scene changed. Oh, that just runs get current scene. Get name source. Yeah, so most likely, Andasama, what we'll have to do is the user gives a string based on what they received from get current scene, right? Because the if I were to pull up, this is going to get really interesting. Let's launch this. But the way this will work is get current scene will give them a string, which is the name of the scene. And what they will have to do with that name is then pass that as the parameter. We will then have to go, okay, now we have the name of the scene. We need to find the scene's reference and then do things to the scene. Or switch to that scene. Right?
Yep. Sorry, I'm distracted.
I can tell.
I'm looking stuff up. and I wrote code in your window because I wasn't paying attention. Let's see. What I'm trying to hunt down is the...
Oh, no. Syntax error. What did I do? I did something somewhere. Let's find out.
Function is same. Is array buffer, is array, is object, is string. Is string is in fact a check, which is perfect. It's almost as if I knew what I were doing.
Did you start writing set current? Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Do you want to just comment out the line while I quickly build OBS and launch it?
Oh, yeah.
Because I just want to make sure that the thing that I'm talking about is right. Oh, that still failed.
Sorry.
OBS browser app line 302. It doesn't like 302. Why doesn't it like 302? Hi.
Oh, it's...
Oh, we haven't saved this file, that's why. Failed to save. The content on disk is newer. Please compare your version to the one on the disk. How do I solve this conflict? Use the actions in the editor toolbar. Aha. Which one's which? There. Let's just say it's that one. Okay. Let me quickly build this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm launching.
I'm
Feel free to do your edits now.
I'm wondering if this execute part could be where we just run stuff as opposed to passing along this message.
I would assume there's a reason why it passes it from browser app to browser client. We don't know why, but that's what it does,
Well, we do because this is sending the information to the specific browser. You see? So it's like get browser, get current contacts, get browser. So it's like, let me, this is setting up the browser to handle
so you're saying we don't need to pass it to on process message received. We can just do it directly in execute.
Maybe not. Right? Because...
Well, we'll do it this way for now. Moving those functions over to here is easy, because they both use name as the variable, and then it just runs an OBS function. So we'll do it in browser client for now. We'll check with Jim after 23 is released, and then if he goes, oh yeah, you can just do that in browser app, we can just copy-paste the entire part that we do, and it'll work.
I'm definitely leaning towards that we can probably execute them in here, because I don't see why.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that makes our code much cleaner as well, because then we're not sending stuff from place to place for no reason.
And we remove all the additional effort of getting the current browser.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Anyway, all right, so back to me writing code. I'm going to flip this around. It is if we don't have... Come on now. There we go. If we don't have that, we immediately return false. If we do have that, we will return true. But we will also do things. Namely, we need to... I have no idea how to read a string.
Well, so here's what I'm thinking. What we should do is, rather than setting the current scene, first let's try getting a list of scenes. That might be easier.
Well, no, it's just a matter of we just need to figure out how to convert. Actually, and this would be the proof of concept to make sure that we can, in fact, do this.
Yeah, okay, so if argument size is not equal... No, hang on, you're overcomplicating this again.
No, it's if it isn't... We need one argument. Well, I can do... Right. If we don't have at least one argument with the first argument being a string.
Then we don't need to do anything, yeah.
Yeah.
Alright. While you write that, I'll quickly add it up here for you.
We need to do something with this, which I don't know. Because this is... Okay, so Ceph arguments, Ceph 8 value list. Okay.
That's not what I meant to do. That's what I meant to do.
God, this is gonna suck. Okay, what are you? You are a vector of Ceph ref pointers. And Ceph ref pointers is probably just a pointer to a Ceph v8 value. So when you do the little thing, it's just a pointer access. So we're dealing with Ceph v8 value. And I bet I can find our friend is string in here. Yes, we can. And the real question is std string.
I'm just going to do something similar.
All right, so now we do Ceph v8 value to std string.
Oh, I keep doing that. So this one will definitely need a callback function. Oh, actually, I can just do the lazy way. That's fine.
On. Okay, Ceph v8 value. Get bool value, get date value, get double value, no. Get int value. What about get string value?
What we're going to do on our end is if
get string
this one here.
Value.
If we're getting get themes, then rather than returning true, we are actually going to do this.
Oh, I don't want to have to dig through all this. Detach string from
string. Scenes. And we're going to get rid of this, and we're actually going to go get scene names. Bang. That should give us everything we need.
I think this might just work. Std string.
One moment while you're doing that.
Sorry.
Just going to quickly build this. Yes, I want to stop debugging. I completely forgot.
All right. What is our friendly function for OBS front?
Oh.
Set scene? I think it is. Box.
Never mind. You can keep.
Front end. I don't remember.
So this one is an interesting one. So we need to attempting to reference a deleted function. Is get scene names deleted function? List is stored. So freeing... Oh, I have to be free it, don't I?
I think that works. I'm not 100% certain.
Okay, well I'm going to comment out my bit. And we can test your bit.
I'm assuming. Okay, I have to go back. Oh, wait. Yeah, no, that should be fine. Yeah. Get string. Oh, wait.
You just return a boolean.
There.
You are a integer. You're happy with yours?
That should work.
Well, let's build it and find out.
I'm not 100% confident because I'm.
Oh no, Dylan! No longer put off audio. Set current scene, identify not found. I think.
Identity.
Yeah, it doesn't like this.
Guess we have to pass it off to the browser. That's because this front end thing isn't included. So we do need to pass this into a callback, probably. No, wait, no.
Let's just pass it.
We don't have to give it to callback. We just grab the parameter.
Correct. Which is
right. Okay, hold on. And then also probably don't need this. I mean, we will need some equivalent of this in the other bit, but
so you're moving it, yeah?
Sorry, I'm.
So this is what you. I copied the wrong thing again.
Yeah, I'll deal with this in the other one.
I've already added the section for you. Get
else ifs with the same.
What is it? Set. Oh yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem.
No, wrong one.
What the?
You want it down there.
What the heck happened?
This one needs to be down here.
Okay. No, see,
I will fix this.
We don't need this. We don't need this bit. This is not what we need.
Oh. Yep, you're right. You only need these two.
Yeah. So the problem here is, I think. Oh, I'm not 100% certain. If we have. How do we get
that? Okay, so
the message arguments list?
Otherwise, we need to
get string 0.
Callback ID.
Message. What are you?
That should work.
Process message. Why copy line? Don't you just love it when your editor assumes that you want to copy an entire line when you're just like, no, just give me what I selected, thank you.
So if it doesn't have an argument, do this. If it does, grab the argument, stick it as an argument, and pass it on.
Okay, get argument list.
And we can skip this. Teamwork.
List value.
I'm also going to get rid of my home. You guys don't need it.
Yeah, get string. I think I did that right. Returns Ceph string, so that should be exactly what we need. That should work.
You are. Hang on. No. Oh yeah, that sets the current scene, and
that should do it.
And there's no callback. Yep, that looks good. Okay, let's build it and see what happens.
And then you can obviously use it with your...
Set int is not a member of Ceph list value. What did I do? I know that one's my fault. Oh, wrong S. That's what I did wrong.
args is not set int. We don't want set int. We are going to want args to be set because it's not a callback.
Oh, you're right. Okay, so we can just do this, right?
And not set int, set string, probably. Yeah.
We're going to try it and see what happens. It's also complaining about scene here. This one. Cannot convert argument 1 from const elem to OBS source T. So set current scene doesn't take a string, it takes an OBS source. So you need to get a source by the string.
Bad. Yep. Sorry.
Luckily, it didn't complain about this one, so I'm guessing you're on the right track.
My bad. No, I forgot that. That's totally my bad. OBS get scene by name. No, OBS get source by name. Yeah, that was my bad.
See, this is why I brought Andasama along, because he knows how to do this, and I do not, and I can learn in real time from him by us sharing an editor. And actually, Andasama, what I've noticed is VS Code handles this stuff way better than Visual Studio does.
Yep. Yes, it does.
It doesn't handle styling in C++, but that's fine. We don't care.
Shoot. What is this? OBS. Oh, I'm getting hints now. I am getting hints now. Can I source release? I'm pretty sure is what.
No, it's probably just auto-completing what you've already written.
Oh.
Yeah. Actually, OBS good idea. Let's.
Okay, that should be good. Tentatively. Oh, this is one thing I'm gonna have to hunt through and go through like everybody's code again, because I'm damn certain that Jim had a pattern of releasing things way in advance of actually needing to release them, which may be the reason for a number of bugs.
Okay, it didn't like what I did here. It's complaining, cannot convert argument 2 from const ty to Ceph string. What does that mean?
Sorry, can you highlight the part and then I'll...
No suitable user... So it's a Ceph v8 value, and we're trying to turn it into a Ceph string. What's a Ceph v8 value?
Probably because...
Ah.
I bet. Try that.
Fingers crossed. Nope. Ceph get string is not a member of Ceph v8 value. So I'm quickly pulling up the Ceph documentation.
I might have done goofed there. Hold on.
No, this is my part. I don't know how to.
Oh, yeah. No, that is my done goof, because I did this before. Let's get string value.
Oh.
That's what it is.
It helps when you've done this before.
Well, I just did it. Just like a few minutes before.
I probably know about 0.5%, Dylan, in terms of... Okay, that built.
That built?
That built.
Okay, that should be good. That should be good then.
I can recognize C++ very easily now. Whether I am any use with it, that is another story. So we're going to need our dev tools over here. We're going to refresh this list. We're going to go to this one, and we are going to OBS Studio.
You're going to need multiple scenes.
Yep, I've got scenes 1, 2, and 3. It reset my docs. Okay, so OBS Studio dot set current scene. Scene 2. Because we're currently in scene 3. This is where we cross our fingers and hope nothing breaks. It worked!
It worked?
Yep. Let me just pop something in scene, because I think scene 1 has an image. Let's pop another image into scene 2, so that we can tell it apart.
We're getting somewhere. Now, the one thing we would need to hunt down is the return value, because I bet you, because this execute thing keeps showing up actually in a number of examples I keep finding, I bet you there is a way to have this thing, because look at how this is set up. Name, what is the second parameter? We have two, actually, hold on a minute. We have two unnamed.
I'm happy as a web dev, Dylan, but I don't mind learning the intricacies of other languages. I wouldn't write it full time, but understanding it is very different from writing it.
Okay, wait, can you see what I highlight? If I highlight something? Okay, so the quick thing. When you're writing in C and C++, one of the things you can do when you're dealing with functions where you have parameters but you're not going to use them is you don't name them, which is what's just happened here. So I would bet that one of these two, because we have an arguments list, I would bet you almost that this reference here, it's one of these two lines, is probably the return value. Maybe. So if we hunt down...
So actually, that's a good point, because let me quickly show you what I'm seeing in... that does not print well. Okay, so it's this one and this one. So if I expand the function in the definition in the browser, this is what it tells me. Right? So it recognizes getCurrentScene as a function, but it's being told that it doesn't need any arguments. Now, this would be defined up in onContextCreated, where we tell it, hey, this is... yeah, this actually, we're going to have to change it for the existing ones. So this has a set value, right? This set value, I'm going to have to pull this up in... So this one's browser app. And this one is... So browser app, line 98.
Create function.
So set value accepts a key, which in this case is our function name, a value, which is the function, and then Ceph v8 property attribute, which currently we're setting attribute to none. So what we're going to do is we're going to quickly do a search here for the docs.
Ooh. Yep, I was right. I found it. I found it. It's the fourth parameter. The fourth parameter is unnamed, and that's the return value. Yep.
Fourth parameter.
Let me give you the link so we don't lose track of this. There you go. So basically, I looked up the create function part, and then I found the specific type of value, and then I found the handler bit, and you can see. So this class.
So name, object, arguments, retval,
Yep, that's a, yep.
return value. Aha!
Yeah.
Okay. So how do we define retval?
No, it's already defined. It's the parameter. You just name the parameter. It's not being used. So we modify. Where did it go? I'm in browser.
You want the execute, yeah?
Doop, 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 doop. Oh, I've lost track of things.
Line 268 in browser app.
Thank you.
Right, that one?
So in here, so this is retval. You're done. So now all you have to do is assign a value to retval, and that's it.
So if we were to
the base, what's happening here, right? Okay, is we have, this is a bit bizarre. So we have a reference to a pointer to an object. Oh, that's just ugly. I would have expected. I have no idea what I'm doing. Okay, so this is pretty nasty. So this bit right here where it says Ceph ref pointer, that's got to be Ceph's little smart pointer version of just pointers. But also we have the ampersand here, and ampersand means like this is a reference. So it is a reference to a pointer to a value.
Oh, so what I need to do is
it's gonna look weird. I'm
okay.
Sure.
So the thing that I just wrote is wrong. Can you do the right way?
What did it complain about?
Let me. So I did it like this initially, which is wrong.
Yeah, this is a, so it would be something like retval. So this is a reference to a pointer.
So the other method I tried is this one, and it didn't like that either.
No, it's gonna want something like retval, and we're gonna have to look at. This is why I'm confused. We're gonna have to find an example of this handler function.
Well, so it's a
Ceph v8 handler.
Name is a string. What's the second one that we... do we do anything with the second parameter?
Probably not. Second parameter is the object.
Is the arguments. So the way we interact with arguments, we do the same thing with retval.
First is the name. The second one is the object. So if this were a function, attached to an object, this is, I think, this.
I have no idea what we're doing then.
Okay, so let me make sense of this. So we have, this is what we're looking at. Whoops.
You want set value?
Yeah, probably. We're looking at that as a function prototype. Herp, derp, derp. So the first one is the name of the function. The second one is a pointer to the object, which probably is the parent to the function, right? So if you called the function and the function was a method of an object, right, in JavaScript, this would probably be returning that object for you to use, right? But we don't need that because we don't care, because there's nothing about OBS Studio, the object, that does anything for us. In fact, we literally have everything from OBS Studio. And then the arguments list. Then we have our nasty way of returning a value. And
so this is also wrong, by the way.
Yeah, I would imagine.
The only issue with it is that it requires a Ceph string as the key and a pointer to a value. Or Set value. No, actually, you know what? That's all I'm doing wrong here is this. And yeah, because it needs to be index 0. And if I try that, what's it complaining about? Object matches the argument list int bool. Int value. Sef pointer. Yeah, so I don't know how to do this. Surprise, surprise, I don't know what I'm doing. But this is a start, I think.
Alright, hold on. Let's just try this.
No, that won't work. The first one has to be a key.
Yeah, key is a string. Okay, hold on. I'm going to look at set value. Yeah, set string key pointer.
And then the other thing we need to do on this front is
which one is this? Oh, set current scene. What do we want to return with this? Just true?
In this case, I just want to test whether this works. So just return true.
Okay.
So the second value you want is a value that is structured like that is structured like this.
Right.
That's what it's expecting. And I don't know what either of these are or how to set this. Do we define this elsewhere? It's a learning experience for all of us, guys.
Oh, no, okay. Actually... No, that's actually enough. Hold on. Okay. That actually... You had the right thing. So, sef ref winner sef va value. Whoops. And sef.
So in the meantime, I'm going to look at...
What are we returning? True?
This. Yeah, true.
We'll just return true. And...
OBS Studio Obj is...
Oh, we want to double check set.
Oh, okay. I see what you're doing.
Property attribute. Associates a value. Okay, hold on. I'm going to look up what this is. Don't delete, don't enum, none, read only.
Cannot convert argument 1 from const char 6 to int. So yeah, I was right. You can just set that first variable to 0 and that'll be fine.
Interesting. Okay. Oh, wait, no. There's one with a key, there's one with an index.
Yeah, I'm giving you the index, which is 0.
Okay, so that's... Okay, so there's just... Yeah, so this has function overload, so that's
Yep,
fine.
that builds, by the way.
Yeah. Alright, we'll see what it does. We've learned!
Yeah. So now we simply connect here. So we want... Yeah, it's forgetting where my... It's forgetting my dock layout.
I'm slightly concerned that this might be a memory leak, but...
Oh, probably, but this is a learning experience. That caused a crash.
Did it now?
Yeah, it disconnected DevTools.
You have a stack?
No, it didn't. Hang on. It disconnected DevTools. It didn't actually crash OBS. So DevTools didn't like it. Oh, it crashed that particular browser.
Okay. So that is probably to do with the last bit. So the one we're probably dealing with probably dealing with the fact that we need a flag. So try that. I have no idea. Because the problem here might be that the return value is getting destroyed.
Object.
And it might not like that.
Key object arguments. Oh, that's execute. No, I need uncontact. 1 sec.
Let's see. Now I'm just going to investigate things because research. Okay, so Ceph return.
There's only one.
Ceph.
So this one accepts a browser. Yeah.
I keep getting the same result.
Frame and context.
Can you do me a favor and because personalized results and all, can you run a search for Ceph v8 handler and then return value and see what you get? We're going to be looking for like anything to do with that. Ceph. I'm going to try
the first result is github.com/David v8.d is the file. The second is JavaScript integration on the Ceph wiki on Bitbucket.
Huh.
The fourth is Ceph C++ API docs Ceph v8 value.
I was hoping I would get something that makes sense of how to use the handler.
So we've got the frame, we've got the context. We are defining the existence of the function, but I don't know how to define
well, I'll give that up for now.
Index value. Key. Settings.
It might be.
So, Ceph v8 access control. I don't know how to define this. That will be a task for another day then.
Set value. Yeah, that's what it has to be, set value.
Alright. Well, we'll worry about it another time. We know everything else works, so we can just... And we can get rid of these 4 up here, yeah?
You might not want to...
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Comment out that bit. We'll come back to this later.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't crash. Yeah.
Too long of a video, Dylan? You could just mention polarity or something. In the tweet message itself, it doesn't even have to be in the video. The video can just be,
polarity thing isn't
Wait,
too big of a thing.
Dylan, the polarity thing, to show it visually, show it the way that guy did in the video. Because he showed it in a really nice way. And that is, it literally swaps it from...
If you're looking at the waveform...
Yeah. Okay, if you feel it's an inadequate demonstration, you're the boss. I won't fight it. Okay, so we have a way to set the current scene. That functions. We have a way to pass a message to get the scenes. And currently, this doesn't function. So what am I doing wrong in this one here?
Where are we looking?
Browser client line 147. I'm assuming I just have to change it to... I'm probably missing like one obvious step.
Not so much an obvious step. You're dealing with the fact that your JSON object here is going to end up being probably an array of some sort. So this, if I'm not mistaken, this is a...
JSON supports arrays.
Yeah, it does, but
it's complaining. This is what it's complaining about. Apparently I'm giving it a void. That doesn't make sense. It says attempting to reference a deleted function. That's what it's complaining about at the moment.
That doesn't seem right. Okay, OBS.
Oh, So, okay. Whatever you feel is right, Dylan.
Alright, first off.
I almost want to do this.
Do me a favor and... Well, I'll just do it. Boop. So what you're going to want to do is iterate through this thing. And is there a function which tells you how many scenes there are? Because we're going to need that to do this safely.
Oh, actually, that would also be a good thing to send to the user.
Scene. Scene. Let's see. Uh-oh. Well, that's slightly concerning.
I mean, the char array is an array, right?
It is an array. Well, actually, let's see how
Hang on, no,
it's used elsewhere.
Why is it complaining? But it's used here just fine.
I could tell you what's wrong with it. Let's see. Ah, okay. That's interesting. All right. That's fair enough. So this is a null terminated. This is a null terminated array, which is not what I would have expected. But that does mean
JSON cannot be referenced. It is a deleted function.
We're going to do this.
Okay, hang on. I just want to test.
And unfortunately, we don't get...
Oh, sorry.
No problem. I'm just gonna. Oh, all right. You're gonna. No, that's not gonna work. It's not gonna like that. It will not.
Okay, so that's definitely my fault.
Oh. This is not at all what I was expecting. Okay. And all right, so what that should do, now we should have our plain old vector here. And now I bet what you can do is create an array. So if we look up Ceph v8 value, I think if we look at Ceph v8 value list, because we just saw that. Okay. All right, so Ceph v8 value list is literally, oh right, I saw this before. This is pointers to values, Ceph ref pointers to values. So if we were, okay, create array.
I'm looking at this going, I've got no idea. So that gives us the list of names. That's a name. Scene vector, I assume, is our array. Strings. Would it accept this?
With the specified length.
Let's see if this works. Just while he's figuring it out.
Huh.
By the way, that builds as is, by the way.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, I'm about to test what it actually does, but it builds.
I wouldn't have thought that that would work.
So OBS studio.get scenes.
It's probably going to crash.
Oh, actually, I forgot the callback.
I'm going to go to the bathroom and I'll be back, but...
No worries. Yep, that works. I'm basically just throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks. That's good enough. That'll work. And we don't need to even think about it. This gives us a list of scenes. Now, the question becomes, does this have to be written the way it's written? Because I don't like the way this is written. This callback returns an object that contains a key called scenes. If I could just return the array directly. But actually, that means I'd have to change the way we return this. That's fine then. That's good enough. Now the question that I have, if I reorder the scenes, it sends them in order. Nice.
Okay. I miss anything?
No, it works. I think we're good.
Oh. In that case, we have one little tweak to make.
Oh, if you want to make tweaks, go for it.
Well, first off, we don't want a memory leak. That would be bad.
True, and that would be with a... Be free. Be free!
Be free. I think it would be like
Which is interesting, because the auto scene switcher doesn't seem to free any of that data.
No, it actually does. Because that B pointer that class is an RAII thing. So it
Do we want to just use that then? Would that hurt?
We are in C++, so technically we should be able to if we have this, which I think we do, because if I remember correctly, this is inside... I think it's OBS HPP.
Well, let's see if this complains. Yeah, it doesn't like B pointer. Undefined.
Where?
This line.
Well, yeah, okay, so it doesn't know about B pointer. So let's
no worries, it's a thing we can worry about later.
No, it's this is in
browser client.
It should know about this. Let's try. There we go. Save it and try it again.
Did you modify something else that I don't have open? Because I might have to save it.
I added a new header. So it should know what B pointer is. Oh, and...
Oh, yeah. No, yeah, it does.
It's not going to like... Oh, wait. Is it going to take...
It's not complaining about anything. I'm building now. Yep, that built.
Yay.
It's now free.
We're done.
Nice. So yeah, let's pull up our list of things that we wanted to do. So get all scenes is done. All of these are done. actually.
Oh.
So we've got set current scene.
We can just repeat that same process for pretty much everything.
But get all transitions and set and get current transition.
I mean, we can get ridiculous here because at this point, it's just a matter of me remembering a bunch of functions from the API and then creating messages to send.
Alright, so you'll define them over there. I'll define it up here.
Let's see. Okay, let me look up. We could literally do a chunk of these. So let me look up source. No, wait. Scene. Let's see. What do we got here?
I already looked. I don't see the need of getting sources yet.
Front end.
Yeah, for now, I have a list, and we will go with... So we've done get all scenes, we've done set current scene, we've added all of the start and stop recording, streaming, and replay buffer. Then the only things missing are get all transitions, set current transition, and get current transition.
Okay, get transitions.
Yep.
Wait, get all transitions plural? Okay, yeah. Get transitions. Get transitions. What do you do? Ah. You are not quite the same. Right. All right. All right.
We're just going to watch you write this. That's what's going to happen here. Meantime...
All right, and then we need to do our... Okay, so this is where you're going to have to help out. Because what do you want out of the transitions?
List of transitions.
Like their names, or?
Yeah, I guess. That would be the unique identifier a user would understand.
Okay.
So here's a question. What's the difference between you running front-end get scene names directly and you running get transition? Oh, you have to...
We're dealing with type conversions and other wonky stuff.
Well, the other thing is OBS front-end get transitions takes a OBS front-end source list
Which is a D array of OBS source T's, and a D array is just a giant block of memory all in a row, which is the exact same as this vector, which allows me to do something funny. I'm pretty sure that'll work.
Dylan just linked something and said this works. What works, Dylan? I say, oh, the image you are requesting does not exist. It was removed.
If I am correct.
I am disappointed.
Where did that go?
How quickly did he delete it? Because I was slow.
Array, OBS, yep. Okay, so if I do this, now this becomes super easy for me. Because now, actually, I should just call this. Now two. And we may want to rewrite that other one, but that's okay.
What's up, Dylan? Oh, geez. I just noticed that I lost 400 frames due to encoding lag, 377 for rendering lag. That would have been that thing that happened early on in the stream. Nice. So PKV found a crash with Jim and Venk. And Jim has determined that the crash is not in OBS, but in the driver interface library. The NVEC dudes will not be happy to hear this.
Yep.
That's amazing.
All right. I'm going to separate this out so that's easier to read. At least for me. Yep. I'll keep those together.
Yeah, that's perfect.
And then all we do is transition names. Push.
That's perfect, Dylan. Stick with that.
I think it's...
So would that actually be that?
Sorry, I'm distracted.
No worries.
Yes, it would. Yes, it would. As we learned from the other one, which apparently works, which is not what I was expecting. So, yep.
So that should work, as is. I did all the other work in defining the function. Oh no, it didn't like it.
No, of course it wouldn't, because I'm not done yet.
It doesn't like this bit.
Sorry, which bit?
It doesn't like the dot array. Array is not a member of source list.
Wait, oh, right. I have to do this in Visual Studio.
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, yeah, hold on.
If you want, I can share I can do a live share of Visual Studio and you can just hook into mine.
I totally misunderstood this. My bad.
Yeah, my concern is that That loops through scenes.
Do 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 do. And then, because I done goofed, it's actually, well, actually here, by this point, we have the transitions size. There we go. That should work.
So that should work.
Well, clean up the code. It should be like that.
It doesn't like vtransitions.assign, I think.
Nope. Why is this not? It should be like this. Sorry. Try it again.
No instance of overloaded matches the argument list. Argument types are OBS source T. Object type is vector OBS source T. So vtransitions.assign is not happy. This.
What just happened? Okay, hold on. What was the error? What was the error that it gave?
Let me copy it for you and paste it down here. So look at example.js.
Oh, okay. Cannot convert argument from double pointer
To initialize a list. And my guess is this array item is a source.
No, this should be all right. You know what? Screw it. I'll do it the regular way.
Yeah, each of these is a source. Oh, that's a lot of loops.
Oh, derp. Transition. And that should be okay. Oh, wait. I think it's sources.
Should this be sources? Yeah.
Yeah.
So does this have to have two loops?
I mean, it's better this way. I was hoping I could cheat and do a direct assignment of the entire memory block, which is why I was using assign. But whatever. I'll figure that out later. There's a better way of doing that with the sign.
It doesn't like. Oh. Okay, that's good. Let's build it.
Let's see now. I'm gonna have to look that up.
That built.
I would hope. Ah, I'm missing a parameter. I am missing quite a bit. Okay, let's see. 90 C++11.
Oh, yeah. That crashes. No, it triggered a breakpoint? Why do I have a breakpoint?
Because I probably done goofed.
Platform Windows 924. They didn't like it.
Breakpoint. Go back up the call stack to a point that we're familiar with.
Alright, let me relaunch this.
No, well, don't relaunch. No, wait. Oh, never mind. You have a call stack, right? On that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hold on. Get.
You can basically go through and hop back and see what.
Yep. So which button do I do that in?
So just basically run whatever, and it's gonna crash, right?
Yep.
Okay. So in Visual Studio,
Mm-hmm.
there should be a tab in your, like, on the bottom bar, like error list output.
Oh yeah, breakpoints. No, hang on. Let me remove these two. I currently have two breakpoints. Call stack. M. Alec.
Yeah, so in that part with the call stack,
Yep, I see what you mean.
yeah, you're gonna want to dig back up to where.
Okay, so this is caused by
On process message.
this line. Can I get more info on this exception here? Now that I'm here?
Oh. Whoops. That could be important. I hope that isn't, but that could have been. So if yeah, so it's complaining about probably running off the end of the array.
That your fix seems to have fixed it.
Yeah, I would imagine. I done goofed.
Yep, that works.
Yeah. All right. So I can explain what just happened there. C and C++ is super explicit about memory, and so if I remove this part, okay. So here's the lesson. If you do something like this, what you're saying is, give me the memory for this type of variable and name it whatever. It does not guarantee anything about the memory you're given. In fact, it can be just completely junk data. So one of the things that you want to do is initialize your thing. And a cheap, dirty trick with structs like this is to do empty braces like this, and that will zero initialize that entire block of memory. And one of the reasons to do this is because what you would want to do, one of Jim's functions here would have been darray init, and we would have done, this would have been, that would have been the appropriate thing to do.
Uh-huh.
That does the exact same thing as that. So, you know, a lot simpler to write the top one. If you want to look up that function and see what it does.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I know, right? It's called teamwork, Tim.
So,
the thing we just wrote, Tim, by the way, in case you're just tuning in, gives us this function, which allows us to print the list of transitions. So we've got cut, fade, luma wipe, which is exactly what we've got in this drop down here.
All right, I'm just copying and commenting code so everyone can see. So for anyone watching, what just happened, a thing that I know, because I deal with Jim's C darrays all the time, is that darray init, there are 3 parts to this struct, this darray, which this OBS front-end source list contains. And the 3 parts are array, num, and capacity. And array gets set to null. In C, null is 0. In C++, there was an issue in that because they added classes and they were dealing with adding this like concept of function overloads. So having a function have the same name but have different parameters, what they had to deal with was the fact that having null be 0 was ambiguous, because in a function, like what do you do with null? Are you going to execute the function that considers null to be the integer, or are you going to try to execute the function that should deal with null as if it were a pointer? Because null is in reference to pointers. That's what null is for. So in C++, they added a new keyword, which is null pointer, and that is specifically that's to differentiate the two. So back in old C land, this is actually exactly equivalent to doing this. And my dirt cheap way of doing this, which is also in C, also does the same thing, because this empty brackets zero initializes the entire block of memory. So all of this, it's kind of redundant because this happens in here. Anyway.
There's something I want to test. I want to rebuild this as is.
Sorry,
feel free to... Oh, it didn't like...
Yeah. You commented out some important things.
Oh, whoops. I accidentally hit a button up here. There it is. Okay. Old Zealand. What did I do? Okay, so that doesn't work. Oh, that's unfortunate. Cannot convert from initializer list to JSON object.
Old Zealand, yes. Old as opposed to Old Sealand. I was like fumbling with the Sealand.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, never mind. This works. This is okay. I wanted to try one last thing, because I'm starting to get tired here. I want to try one last thing. And that is... I'm just going to quickly launch this. You have the stream open at the moment, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, when you define functions in JavaScript, JavaScript normally tells you what's in those functions. However, this one So these are prototypes, basically. And if I expand get status, right, what it tells me is it has a constructor, but the constructor has null arguments. So what I want to do, and as far as I can tell, I'm going to guess it should be in onContextCreated, where we need to tell it, hey, these are the arguments I accept. Because if I were to do the same for console.log, and I would expand console log, it'll tell me that it accepts... okay, so can't be accessed on strict mode functions or arguments objects for calls to them. Okay. But yeah, it at least knows that it accepts one argument, which ours doesn't want to explain. I don't know what the correct method is. Oh, that's gonna expand a lot. Okay. I'm curious if we can somehow tell it that it does accept arguments. You're just writing more back here.
Let me know if that... Let me know if that works. Can you rebuild that?
Will do.
So that...
It didn't complain, and it built.
Question is, does it work?
So what you did is instead of a loop, you're just doing an assign.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if I need to reserve any extra memory. I don't think I do, but yeah, super, super cheap way to do.
Yeah, that works.
So here's the thing, for anyone watching, for Matt here, vectors in C++ are contiguous blocks of memory. So whenever you're dealing with something that is also a contiguous block of memory, if you know what you're dealing with, the types of the data which are in the thing that you're dealing with, you can just go assign and just say between here and here. That yeah, it is super cheap. Is very mean.
So we can get rid of that line in this one. Sweet.
Well, which one did you get rid of?
That commented line.
Yeah, and this stuff too. That's the same thing.
Excellent. So yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do before. Is this not? Yeah, there we go.
So the question I was asking is, in onContextCreated, is there a way for us to tell it what the arguments are?
It would have to do with that create function bit, because...
Yeah, so this bit creates the function. So would it be part of this?
I mean,
because this one doesn't accept any other parameters. This is lockdown. So I want to see if what JavaScript integration will tell us about. I'm not using that page. That's a crap page. CFV8. Create function. It has a name and a handler.
Yeah, so that's the thing I looked up before, was the handler. Which is that function?
And the handler is the function. And the function has the...
No, the handler is the pointer. It is the handler
to the execution
is a
of the
pointer
function.
to...
Yeah.
No.
Handle execution of the function identified by name.
It is a pointer. So in the create function thing, it is the name of the function and then a pointer to a Ceph handler class. And a Ceph, so it's anything that inherits from a Ceph handler class, which apparently our browser app does somewhere. And so it can specify that execute function, and then when it got past this pointer, that just works to say like use the execute function of this class.
Yeah.
And that's how that works.
Yeah. So that doesn't cover what I'm trying to find.
Right. What you're trying to find, what we're trying to hunt down, is what in the world Ceph, like the create function, actually returns, because it says Ceph ref pointer Ceph v8 value, which is the same for everything else, but each one of these, so like create string, like it creates this value, but if we were to look at get function, let's see if there's a get function. There are two get function-ish things. So yeah, I'm not sure that we can do anything from here.
Yeah, that's what I'm confused about.
Because what I would have expected was that there would have been like a get function with the specific object, but no, it's just the whatever it is, and then to return the handler or the name. So that
But the only thing I can think of is that OBS Studio object, we're setting this value, which this is the key, this is the function, and this is the thing. It would have to be here, but this particular set value doesn't accept any other parameters. This is the maximum number of parameters you can give it. I don't entirely know what this third parameter is for. I guess you can set it to read only, which we don't need to do apparently, because Jim didn't make it do that. But past that,
access control. Yeah, this is bizarre. Set value with the key settings and attribute registers an identifier and returns true on success. Associates a value with specified identifier, returns true on success. Associates a value. Yeah, I don't see anything about. I don't know that we can modify any of that. I mean, if we can, that'd be nice, but I don't think it's necessary. Because all the stuff is documented already. Right? I mean, it's not as if we're adding these things and we're not going to document them for people. Although it will be confusing if they're messing with it in the editor.
Well, because like if I do window dot what is it? Console.log, right? It tells me that it accepts a parameter, in this case data. Yeah. If I do local storage dot set item, it tells me it accepts a key and a value pair. If I do local storage dot get item, it tells me that it accepts a key. So I'm wondering, actually, you know what? We probably have to, on this start streaming Ceph value, is set arguments on that. So this is a... So maybe we have to set an extra value on it. Define parameters.
Oh, you're thinking because you can open it up. Like you're thinking, like the parameter, like the because it's like the function actually has properties. Right? So if you open up in the inspector and you're looking at the function, it's just the properties, right? Yeah, so let's try that.
So if we were to set... So if I were to do this, right? Let's do get status, right? That one is a very easy one. But if we were to do get status, set value, arguments...
0, right? Oh no, 1.
Or actually, no, sorry, not arguments. If we're going to do the number, length. Let's see if anything complains. Because it might be as simple as that.
About the 1.
What?
It's going to complain about the 1. And we'll run it.
Browser app CPP. Nope, it didn't complain. Let's build it.
Didn't? Really?
Oh no, then now it did.
Yeah, I thought so.
Access control cannot convert argument. Okay.
Yeah, so it's this.
Oh.
Whoops. Sorry. And I think int, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure. What are we looking at? Create.
Yep, create int.
Yeah.
It supports an int32 value.
Yep. There you go.
That's lengthy.
Yeah, it's not pretty. I'm also, because we had that crash from before, so I'm slightly concerned.
Access control cannot convert argument 1 from const char 7 to int.
Oh, that's right, because it doesn't like the so now we have to look at...
Hang on, will that not work?
Key value attribute. No, we have to...
Oh, right. You're right, yes. I'm dumb.
That'll probably work. Yeah, it needs the third parameter. That'll probably work.
Cannot convert argument 3 from int to property attribute. So you just need this.
Well, yeah, that one you can just cast. Or none, yeah.
We're just trying stuff, seeing what throws an error. Okay.
And then
now, if this is how it's actually supposed to work, then this makes no sense whatsoever. Just putting that out there. Because I shouldn't have to define each of these manually. I should...
well, yeah, it doesn't make sense that you're setting properties on a function. That literally makes no sense. Because how do you access those? So that, you know, like Ceph can somehow read those, but like how, you know what I mean? Like you can't access that.
No, that didn't set it.
It didn't? But it didn't crash.
It didn't crash, but most likely it's this is something that isn't used. So it just didn't recognize it, and so it didn't do anything with it.
Let's put this in front of the other one. Try it now.
Oh, that's probably a good idea, yeah.
Maybe. Might be. Who knows? We're not sure.
Yep, we're just throwing stuff at the wall, seeing what sticks. Yeah, pretty much, Mark. It didn't crash, but it also didn't do anything, so... I don't know.
I wouldn't think this would work.
No, I don't expect this to work either. It doesn't make sense for it to work.
My suspicion is that the way
well, because here's the thing. These things that we're seeing are internal to JavaScript. JavaScript automatically figures out what the parameters are, right? But, yeah, that didn't work.
The inspector knows all of those functions, right? Because all of those are existing. Like, if you...
Okay,
what happens if you
good
write
point.
your
Hang
own...
on. var testing equals function 1, 2.
Like, what... you know what I mean? Like, what happens if you create a... like a variable where you assign it a function? Does it figure out what it was?
Yes. It immediately knows. Yep, it immediately recognizes that I've told it about 2 parameters. And if I expand it out, it says... No, actually, interesting. It says arguments is null, caller is null, but it has a length of 2, which is the 2 parameters. And if I then expand that infinitely, then that still doesn't tell me anything. So it understands that there are 2 parameters, and it understands what they are, but only because it's a function that I've defined, and so it knows how to read it. Now, what you'll notice about console...
The problem here... So the problem here is that what Ceph is probably allowing us to do is creating a function with just completely empty, but also allowing us to...
Well, so you'll notice, I don't know if you have the stream open, but if I hover over one of ours, it says, function start streaming native code, right? Because it can't actually access what's inside. The same appears for these, console log, right? And actually, let me do the same for local storage. Because I'm curious. So local storage... prototype.
Yeah,
get item.
I would be led to believe that.
See, this one doesn't allow you to access arguments directly, but it still is able to define them somewhere because it has a length of 3. So the question becomes, how do you define arguments in native code? Because that's what it comes down to, I think.
I have no idea.
Me neither.
I wouldn't worry about it at this point. It's kind of like a... It's kind of a niche, your type of... well, it's for us, basically, the developers, but at the same time, we're already writing documentation, so...
Yep, so the last thing that we will need to do for this general thing that we've done, so let's just expand here what we've done today. So we added get current scene, get scenes, get transitions, set current scene, start recording, replay buffer, and streaming, and stop recording, replay buffer, and streaming. So the only thing we didn't do is we've got all transitions. We didn't do get current transition, and we didn't do set current transition. Set current transition will actually be... Is that one just a string-based one, the same as set current scene?
Probably not. But, it's going to be similar. If it's with the source...
Welcome back, Dylan.
if it's with the source, it'll be like the same as the other one, roughly.
Yeah, it accepts a source. So we would need to do the same thing as the other one. Okay. So yeah, we've got... we don't have get current transition, we don't have set current transition. Those are the only things missing. So if I were to pull up the actual code changes we've made...
I'll let you do this one and figure it out.
I'll do that. I'll probably not do it today, because it's 10:40 and I need to get up in the morning. But I'll just run through the cool thing we've done so far, and I'll probably just commit this locally. What I'll actually do is... Are you in this list here somewhere? No. Okay, let's grab you from over here. And Asama. Cool.
You can probably snap up my email or whatever from one of the previous commits.
Yep, that's what I'm doing.
I don't remember where it is. Oh dear, I've been doxxed. Oh no.
Actually, I can probably just grab the whole thing, can't I? You know what?
Yeah,
I'm gonna do this differently. Do we have a thing? What did you do? Yeah, this one's yours. Let's do it this way.
It's the name in angle brackets from my memory. It's like how Google does things. Like how Google tags emails.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. So, you've actually been committing to... When you did Rematrix Filter, you just used your real name, and then for OBS you use Andasama.
I changed it at some point.
Yeah. Alright.
I don't know.
No worries.
Yeah, well, you showed both. You showed both, so everybody knows my real name. No.
Everyone knows my name.
Yeah, that's fair.
And that's the email you still use. Yeah, cool. Okay.
Yeah, I don't mind. I put it publicly anyway. If I had been concerned about anonymity, I would have sorted that out way long ago.
Yeah.
Dylan, my name is public. Dylan, your name is Dylan Don Dillion.
There you go.
Everybody knows that.
There you go. Perfect. So now, if I just as a test commit this locally to control OBS, if I pull this up, it should say... Maybe only GitHub does it.
I can look it up.
I can also set the author.
I can look it up in mine if you want.
Well, I haven't pushed it because it still needs some work. GitHub will definitely recognize you, but what I might do is I might just set you as the author and myself as the committer or something. I don't know. We'll see. But
oh, you can do that?
Yeah.
Oh, whatever.
Git's cool that way. So here's what we've done. This section here defines the functions that the browser sees. So so this list is generated based on the entries here. So this just defines all of them. So we've got start streaming, stop recording, stop recording, replay buffer, start and stop, get scenes, get transitions, and get current scene.
We could actually probably, looking at that block of code, we can probably compress that because that's going to be similar in that all of those are just like stop streaming, right? Like those are just strings.
Well, they're strings, but the function definitions aren't.
Right, but they're all handled by the same thing. So the only adjustment, we could have a for loop and just a vector of functions we want to define.
Yeah. Well,
and we can do that later.
we'll worry about that another time. So this is where we define them. Defining them just tells the browser they exist. It doesn't actually make them do anything. The actual part, because this is under on context created, we define them. Then the next step is when it executes. So when you actually go obsstudio.get current scene, what does it do? Well, if we scroll down, get current scene, we run this code here. Now, in... what do we have? In start-stop for streaming, recording, and replay buffer, all we do is we send a message named by what we... the command that we sent over to the browser client, which is this one over here. In the case of get scenes and get transitions, we do something similar, except we read the callbacks, and we go, is the first callback a function? And if that's the case, forward it on. Otherwise, it just runs it without actually doing anything, which is funny. In the case of set current scene, we actually go, is the first argument a scene name? Or at least, is it a string? Because that will give us the ability to go, is it a scene name? What will it do, Andasama, if we type in an invalid scene name?
Whatever OBS would usually do if you did that with that function. So, good question. You want to try it?
It just does nothing, which is a good sign.
Okay, yeah. That would make sense.
Yep. So if you tell it to set the current scene, it actually doesn't... oh no, it does send a process message to the browser. And we've also added some code where we're going to try sending a return value, because currently it just returns undefined. We might return true or a string that says there is no callback behind this, or listen to this event to be able to get the response from this. But either way, currently, this doesn't really return anything, and it doesn't need to, because the first parameter is a callback. That's just not documented in here. Now, all of these send a process message to the browser client. The browser client, if it receives a message, then runs an OBS native function. So in this case, it tries to start recordings or streams or replay buffers. If you run get scenes, it loops through the scenes, generates an array, and sends that back as a JSON object. So if we then run get scenes, it returns a JSON object with a field of scenes. And the scenes is an array that we can then interact with. So if we then go, actually, we want, say, we'll store this. 2. So scene 2, which is the third one in the list, is our second entry, and we could send that to set current scene, and that would then set the scene. So you could use this array to generate your own drop-down menu, and when the user selected in the drop-down menu, this immediately would run get set current scene and switch to that scene. That's one implementation. We did the same for get transitions. That one had a little bit more code to it, because they're a little bit more complicated than just scene names, because there's a difference between having a function that returns the scene names directly and between actually getting the list of transitions, getting their names, generating an array, and then returning that array. And then set current scene is basically get the argument that the user has specified, find the actual scene, and try to set the scene. Interesting that this function actually works, Andasama, without crashing or anything, because I guess it just returns null if the scene doesn't exist. And so if you then try setting the current scene to null, that won't do anything, because you have to be set to a scene. Maybe we should add a check in here where we...
function. If you look in that function, there's a check.
Okay.
I'm sure.
Cool.
If you want. Yeah.
Yeah. So all of that is all we managed to do today. Mostly the complicated stuff done by Andasama, me just filling in the blanks of the simple stuff like, hey, let's define the function. I think we did well. the things that remain is setting the current transition. So that basically comes down to, we have the list of transitions, and we're going to make it easy for the user of the JavaScript API, where we go, okay, so let's just grab the list of transitions here. In the same way,
Wizard actually did try it. When Wizard
yeah, that was 4
ran
minutes
the
ago.
function, yeah, when he selected.
No, I mean he sent that message 4 minutes ago.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, I just saw it pop up. Never mind.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Restream seems to do that if you're using Restream chat. Not sure about that.
Okay. Well, anyway, the reason that worked is there is a check against the null, and the reason it didn't crash when he selected a scene that didn't exist is that it returns null because it couldn't find the source. So returns null, there's a null check, everything's fine. Nothing happens.
So in the same way that we did set current scene, we're going to do the same for set current transition, where it'll just accept one of these strings that we've provided to the user of the API, and we'll do the complicated logic on our side, where we loop through and do whatever we need to do. Not this file. This file. Set current scene, yeah. I think there's just a set current transition. We just need to set. We just need to basically do get source by name for the transition. Easy enough in the grand scheme of things. So that there's that, and get current transition, which will have similar code to set, I think. Those will be the simple bits. The other bit that we need to do is currently. All of these can be run by any web page that you load into OBS. What we need to do is we need to add a new property over here, somewhere down here, allow this page to control OBS. I would stick it behind a warning or something, or like, I understand that this is dangerous and can stop my stream or start my stream without my permission, or something like that. But that is the next thing we'll add.
We might have it where, I mean, we could try some basic auth stuff, maybe.
Maybe.
Agree to this, set a password and whatever, and then use that to verify that.
Oh, like an auth token where we define a token locally in the client, and then in whatever dashboard we choose to use, say Muxy for example, we specify, hey, this is the password.
Yeah.
This is the password that you need to use to be able to control OBS. That's not a bad idea.
I mean, it depends how harsh we want to make. I mean, because presumably these messages aren't being sent a ton, so we can do the whole security thing of encrypting the whole mess.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
Well, the whole idea is you don't want to add a page to your overlay, right? And have the page just randomly start a stream for you. A, because you had no control over that stream being started. And B, because you have no control over it and you may not even know it happened, who knows what you might end up streaming. That's why, I think that's one of the reasons we shouldn't provide ways to, for example, I know I specified down here.
Another thing we could do, right, is if the website, we could log. Another important thing is for any of these, which are commands that control OBS, we can log the website which ran it. Right?
That's a good idea.
So that way, if anybody comes back and they're like, how the hell did this happen? Then we can probably dig back and figure out what script might have done it.
Yeah.
Or something, right? I don't know. If we can get like a debug log of like lines of code from a website and figure out if there's like malicious
do we pass
code floating around.
The browser, we do. Yeah. So I've added a to-do in the code. Because because that's not a bad idea. So that's that. And then the other things I was thinking that we could do is getting the current scene collection, switching to a different scene collection, getting your list of profiles. Oh, we'd also need to get the list of scene collections to be able to do these. Getting a list of profiles, getting your current profile, and switching profile. Now, the benefit of that is we don't give the web page direct control over changing settings, only switching between predefined profiles. So, for example, the web page won't be able to populate a stream key, set the service URL, and then go live. It has to be a service that you, as the user, have knowingly put into your list of profiles and configured properly. And also maybe the ability to change studio mode, but I don't actually see the point of this one. I don't see how this would be useful to control outside of OBS. But I guess this could be one way to just not skip the usage of WebSocket.
Does the browser have the ability to write files onto the disk?
I don't believe so. I think Warchamp or Dodgepong said that they were able to confirm that it doesn't. My guess is the way.
Because if it were, I'd be worried that it could be like an attack could be made on the JSON itself.
Yeah, my understanding is that normally with Chrome, if you want a web page to be able to access the drive, it explicitly asks you, and then you have to accept that. And because we're running it through Ceph, not through Chrome, the user never actually gets that request, and therefore it's automatically denied. I think that's the way it works.
All right. Well, as long as that isn't possible. We want this very limited, if any. I mean, powerful in that you can do some basic things, but very limited in that we don't want.
Well, already, like what we've done so far is powerful enough. Starting outputs, switching scenes, switching transitions. So you could actually use a tool like if you had something that was based on the idea of if this then that, of going, okay, set a timer for 5 minutes, then after those 5 minutes, switch to this transition and switch to this scene, then reset my transition. You could put together a website that does that, and the stuff that we've just done today would allow you to be able to click that button on a web page that does that kind of thing for you. So you wouldn't need a local plugin, something like, automatic scene switcher or advanced scene switcher. You could do that. Your overlay could do that for you.
Or even if just a background browser, maybe. If we extended this to, because this is part of, I think, every browser.
Yeah, correct. Even as far as I know,
browser panels.
web panels have access to this too.
Okay. Yeah, in that case, what could be nice is maybe,
you know, it would be a good idea if we had a way. If we were able to tell in the same way that we can actually respond with the plugin version, which is this code right here, to also return browser mode, whether it's panel or source. And then only expose all of these options if it's a source. I think that would be a good thing to do.
Let's see. I think you could do that if... Hold on. Oh, this is confusing. Oh, I have things I have broken in my own build. Browser client. Okay, we're dealing with browser client, browser app. can we in another? Okay, browser client.
No worries, Dylan. Good night. I will be heading off in a moment as well because I have to be up in
wondering-
7.5 hours.
I'm wondering if we could have a function define. I wonder. Set QSEF browser client. Anyway, yeah, I'm wondering if we can have one function with the same name just defined different ways, right? Or one returns true and one returns false.
The same function?
Which one? Yeah, so well, because we have in. This is where I'm getting confused. We have in browser panel a thing which has like execute on browser, which is one of the things we were messing with before, right? And
yeah,
one of those gets a QSEF browser client. So that's the thing we're probably messing with. And
yeah.
so I'm wondering if, because this is reinterpreting a pointer, I'm wondering if we can cast a specialized version of that object. So if we subclass the browser client and then have it define an extra function.
Yeah.
And define a different execute function.
Well, here's the thing, right? This section here, where we define each of the functions, we can stick that behind an if statement.
No, wait. We don't have to create a function. We just have to set a thing as true or false. Because that whole bit in that init function where we're defining functions, that's attaching functions. You can see it there. It's attaching functions to the OBS Studio object. We could just have a part that says OBS Studio object set value is panel, and then one of them being true and one of them being false.
So define within here that, okay.
Or another function, as long as we just have to subclass.
I was just going to do if browser panel, or, not panel, then,
Yeah, I don't know.
Because remember, if this code here doesn't exist, you will most likely not be able to reach this code in the first place. You won't be able to execute if it's not defined. And that definition happens up here. Then in terms of return values, that has to happen in the execute section. So that can have a check, hey, am I in a panel? And then determine whether to execute or not. Anyway, I do agree, all of that makes sense, and that's stuff we should do. I'm going to open sticky notes and write all of this down. So
yeah, that's an idea. That's a plan.
So we've got this stuff. Cool. Easy. So I've committed that. I haven't pushed it yet, but I might. Because there's nothing in here where I feel it's not good. Let me amend this. You know what? I'll push it and you can experiment with it. Let's do that.
Sure. I might work on it in the morning maybe. Let's see what I can. I mean,
I'll take a look to make sure Friday, it actually marked you as a co-committer. Yeah, it did.
Tomorrow is Friday, so
how cool is that?
Yeah, that should be fine.
So now if you look at the commits, it actually shows up in in GitHub as WizardCM and Andasama committed 22 minutes ago. I think I can also set multiple authors, which might be a better way to do it.
Yeah, what I remember when dealing with this stuff with PKV was that it was like you could do the co-authored thing, and then that's all I remember.
Yeah, I don't think there's a way to do it in Git directly. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just adding the co-authored thing. I don't think you can.
Yeah, I think that's a GitHub specific thing, which is why this thing doesn't see it. But that's fine. Yeah, that works.
Well, good night, guys. I'm going to pass out.
Yep, me too. Thanks for helping me out with this.
No problem. It was fun.
Yeah.
We'll get some neat stuff. Because you do some front end development. If you made a
panel, now exactly. No, I can definitely do a demo website. I might do that over the weekend. I might do 07 Craft stuff on Sunday and instead do this stuff on Saturday, where I make a dashboard where you can do this stuff.
Maybe you can train me in React.
I probably wouldn't do it in React. I'd probably just do it in nice raw HTML and JavaScript. We'll see.
Well, I mean, if it's just a front end app in this case.
Yes, right. But the downside of React is you don't end up with a HTML file. All of it is JavaScript. So if you don't have JavaScript enabled, for example, you have no page.
Mm.
And that's the thing I don't like about React.
Yeah, that could be an issue.
Anyway, we only need something simple, basically something that can... we'll need a web server that contains the ability for WebSockets to connect, or at least a WebSocket server.
None of this would work anyway without JavaScript. So
correct, but I mean that actually rendering a page as well is dependent on JavaScript, and I don't like that idea.
Mm. Well, anyway, you are the web dev.
152 additions and 2 deletions. What did we delete? We modified we added the retval, and
right.
I ballsed up on a get status. That's not supposed to be there. That's all right.
Once we figure out what causes that crash.
What crash?
When we did the retval thing. Because I would think the problem I see is that it was like the reference to a pointer. That's just bizarre. I don't like that. That's wonky. Because it seems like it returns undefined anyway. So I'm wondering if there's some default object, and maybe it doesn't like being replaced, or I don't know.
Maybe. We'll figure it out.
Strange. It'd be nice to get it working, because returning values would be pretty cool.
They would be. And like, we could, as a future version, make these return promises. The issue I expect is that we have a choice, right? We can either do it the same way it already worked, which is callback functions, or we can use promises. We can't really... We can kind of do both.
Can we create promises? I don't see...
Well, that's the thing we're going to have to figure out. If there's a way to... You know what? CF documentation. Promise. I don't
know. Create object type promise. Can add native bindings to JavaScript. Yeah, I don't know. We might not have the ability to make promises.
Yeah, because promises are fairly new. When we're Because they're ES5 or 6, I think.
No, they're
They
pretty
were added in
old.
2016. Not supported by IE. Basic support added in Chrome 32, Firefox 29.
Yeah, it might be better for us to stick with
Callbacks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because the benefit of
bad.
the reason why we could technically add promises alongside having callbacks is the difference comes from right now we return undefined, right? Or we just don't return anything. Instead, we could return a promise, and that promise would functionally work the same way as the callback. And basically, when we send the callback, we also just send the promise. We resolve the promise, I should say. And that way, if someone's using callbacks, they continue using callbacks as before. If they choose to use promises instead of callbacks, they simply don't have to provide a parameter and just use the response.
Well, we'll see if we can. I don't know. I'm not seeing.
I doubt
here.
if we do. Most likely, if we do have the ability to create promises, we'd actually probably have to just create our own promise system where we define each of those functions. Where we go, hey, this is how you. This is a then. This is a catch. This is all of that. We'd have to define it ourselves, and that is not worth the effort.
Well, maybe that's, like you said, maybe that's all it takes is creating an object with a then and catch.
Yeah.
And returning it. Because there is a create object.
Yeah.
Which has to be like the basic object type. Which I would assume... Yes. I would assume JavaScript would understand if it spots something that has a then and catch. That it's supposed to execute that.
What's really interesting, I just took a quick look.
What is the? Well, you maybe we just have to look this up. Like, what's the specification of what makes a promise?
If you look up MDN, if you Google MDN promise, the first result should be promise JavaScript MDN Mozilla. That covers the entire spec for a JavaScript promise.
Executor, a function that is passed.
So actually, if we were to pull up a polyfill, there is a promise polyfill. The problem is
prototype catch then finally
subset of rsvp.js. That's clever. Resolve reject success failure. Yeah, this looks like a lot of code. I don't think it'll be worth the effort. Anyway, something to think about. I'm gonna go to bed.
Yeah. Good night.
Good night.
Yeah. Alright.
Alright, thanks to everyone for watching today's stream. I'm gonna quickly turn this off so that it's not as distracting. I would say today was a success. We managed to complete most of the things that I wanted to do. We just have enhancements on top of what we've done that we need to cover. But other than that, it all works. So thanks for watching. Thanks to the followers, for those of you who followed. And I will probably stream either tomorrow night or on Saturday where we will kind of do more of this. I know Undersummer's probably going to work on this tomorrow while I'm at work, which is not fair. But that's what's happening. So enjoy the rest of your days, and I will see you guys another time. Bye!